My friends, welcome to the show. And that's how we start every show. And then I plug the Patreon and remind you that patrons get extended versions of every episode. We're going to talk about some happy things today going to conventions. My name is Ashley Clements, and these are the Look Back Diaries epilogues. First up was LeakyCon. Some of us had attended LeakyCon the year before in Chicago, but that was just me, Mary Kate, Julia, and Laura, the core four, the original cast members, the leads, and Bernie flew with us, and then Hank met us there. So, like, the six of us were the representatives of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries there. And us going at all had been very last minute because we were literally at a VidCon party about 6 weeks or something before and met Melissa Anelli, who runs LeakyCon and at this point many other conventions. And she like grabbed us and said she loved Lizzie Bennet Diaries and that we should come to LeakyCon. And I was like, yeah, I don't know who you are, but you should talk to Bernie. And it happened. They made it happen in a very short amount of time. We were very last minute guests. We were not paid to attend, but we were flown for free. We were housed for free. It was two girls to a room. Mary Kate and I ended up sharing a bed at both of our LeakyCon attendances, like a king bed. And there was always food available in the like special guest lounge, and we were all broke. So we would try to like make that the majority of what we ate. We would be like going over to get our like free meal of snacks. There was a lot of things like, cold cuts and celery sticks and carrots and hummus and things like that. I don't know, we managed to eat something. Oh, I think if you could eat bread, there were sandwiches. Mary Kate and I were like, we just will eat this processed meat. Thank you. Also, we are squirrels. And much of that remained true for our 2013 LeakyCon appearance, which was in Portland, Oregon, which beautiful place. Sorry, I had been to Chicago before, so I wasn't experiencing Chicago for the first time with LeakyCon, but I had not been to Portland. Apparently, we hit just like the perfect weather because apparently I'll get a bunch of rain. We didn't experience that. We experienced like perfect, fantastic weather, great food, and just cool vibes, cool city for tourists who were experiencing very little of it. We loved it. In fact, we were like making up songs about it. There was a Vine. That's how long ago this was. I wish I could remember it. Oh, I think we just kept saying in Portland. I don't know. It was very funny to us at the time. You know how inside jokes develop and don't make any sense, but we had such a great time. And there were so many more of us. That was part of what I wanted to say. So, of course, the core four, but then they also brought Allison, who was at the time, I guess, like actively in Sanditon. I'm not entirely sure what Sanditon's dates were, but that was very recent or ongoing at that point. And then most of our men. They brought DBG and Christopher Sean and Maxwell Glick and Wes Adderhold. And that meant that there were like so many of us there. And of course, Bernie and Hank were also there again as well. But now we had like a whole crew, like a very fun gang together. And again, we were sharing hotel rooms. And Mary Kate and I had there was only one bed. It was a king bed, but it was also like a corner suite. So we also had like a giant living room with a kitchen and a dining room. And we had two bathrooms. So we could like each get ready in a bathroom. It was basically like a pretty substantially sized one bedroom apartment. Like if you had that much space in Manhattan, you would feel like a king. And then you could sleep in your king bed. But that also meant that, we had like a room everyone could hang out in, and we did a little bit of that. I'm sure we did some panels. I vaguely remember doing some panels, and we participated in the big opening number, which was a take on La Boheme from Rent because Anthony Rapp was there, who played the original Mark in Rent. And I will say, having been to like Comic-Con and other larger conventions, that was a really lovely, lovely group of people. It was just really inclusive. And I think that it invited people who might have been more overwhelmed at Comic Con, which, to be clear, includes me. Comic Con is massive. San Diego Comic Con, the Comic Con, and I'm so glad that we got to be a part of it. And again, we were not being paid for our appearance, but we did get this free trip to Portland, which we all fell in love with. During the hours we were in the convention center, we absolutely took advantage of free food. But with all of our incredible bonus checks, we did eat out sometimes. I remember us all going to Powell's and just walking around the bookstore and spending so much time there. It was an adventure. And it is always so, so lovely to meet fans who love what you made. I realize when I talk about this time period and some obvious resentments I have about things that happened, that I wasn't getting to do the thing I loved more than anything in the world. Any grievances I may have had during the course of making the Lizzie Bennet Diaries did not register in the same way because it was all in service of doing something that I loved doing so much. But after the show was wrapped, anything that felt icky wasn't then tempered by getting to do the thing that lights me up. But the second best thing after getting to be on set and act is meeting people and hearing from people who told us that what we had done impacted them. I come from a theater background, and you can tell in the moment when something is live how people are reacting to it. You can hear them laugh, you can hear them gasp, you can feel the weight of a silence. But there is a disconnect when you're doing things on camera. And it's so lovely to get that feedback loop, whether it's in comments or messages or meeting people at conventions. And so, despite the fact that as an introvert, I do find those things to also be exhausting, I loved it. Like when I would get back from a convention, I would basically need to not talk to anybody for a week to recover. I know you introverts understand. I mean, I'm like kind of an ambivert in that I do really enjoy being around other people, but my core remains introvert in terms of like recharging. No matter how much I enjoy being around other people, I do need to be alone to recharge the battery. So usually by the end of a convention, I feel ready to go home and isolate myself for a while, but that does not mean that I don't enjoy myself very thoroughly while I'm there. And I have so many great memories of that particular Portland LeakyCon. And then speaking of Comic Con, a bunch of us did go, not in any official capacity. Comic Con badges are free if you work in the industry, which meant that I knew tons of people who'd been going to Comic Con for a long time. And everyone was just saying, you should come, you should go. It's a thing. You should experience Comic Con. And we did Comic Con things, and I experienced that. I waited in one long line for a panel and walked the floor and went to some Comic Con parties. But the reason that this is relevant to this part of my life is because we were getting recognized all over the place, Mary Kate and I. I mean, obviously, the two of us together makes it easier, but also when I was by myself, just we're in a crowded place full of fans of things. But it was also, very cool that people were here to see major stuff. Like San Diego Comic-Con has, Marvel movies debut their trailers and things. And we were known by a lot of people and getting stopped and asked to take photos. And because of that, Bernie was also there and he suggested, do you want to do like a little informal meet and greet with fans and just, put it out on social media and see who wants to meet us? And we told people we would be in the lobby of one of the hotels that's near the convention center that has a lot of Comic-Con events going on in it. And we just kind of found a corner and hung out. And like enough people showed up that the hotel kicked us out because we were taking up a lot of space. and there were just a lot of people who wanted photos and signings, and then we just kind of spilled out onto the street and finished taking whatever photos people wanted, and it was just really staggering how popular this show was. It was one thing to be like highly recognized at VidCon. That's a convention about online video. But there are movie stars at Comic-Con. It's just a reminder of how beloved and popular the Lizzie Bennet Diaries were. And then our final convention of the season was VidCon, right in our own backyard, except, not, because it's in Anaheim, which is over 30 miles away from LA. And when you factor in traffic, which is not great in the LA area, it's time consuming to get there and back. It's like across the street from Disneyland. It's the Anaheim Convention Center. So, there's a lot of people going there as well. Plus just, traffic. You would know what traffic is. And we had fought hard to get accommodations when they were asking us to attend the year prior and shoot episodes there. Like all four of us shot an episode at Comic-Con, so did Max. So we were being asked to attend the convention and work as actors, and it was someone more experienced and smarter than me who said they need to give us a hotel room. They need to house us there. But there were no hotel rooms left by the time we made that request. So the four of us split a room like around the block in this very motel-y motel with two queen beds that the four of us shared. It was extremely unglamorous. So going into this year, they just offered me a hotel room. I can't tell from my emails if they offered all of us hotel rooms, but they were asking us to do things on multiple days. There was a Lizzie Bennet reunion panel on one day and a signing scheduled for the next day. And so I was offered a hotel room for the whole time. It felt right. It felt like that was something that they should pay for. They were asking me to come, create this value for them. They were going to be selling things. I think that's also when they announced Emma. And I can see from my emails that the cast communicated with each other and said, hey, we should get paid for this. And I can also see that we were offered a $50 gas stipend. And look, we weren't paid to go to these other conventions, but we were traveled and housed and sort of fed. And also, we had a history of being underpaid and undervalued by this team. But most of us went. There was a really large panel. I know that we went to some parties and things. I don't have strong memories of this. It's funny, like I remember our first VidCon so vividly because it was such a shocking event in so many ways. I've talked a lot about the paradigm shift in our understanding of what this show was and the impact it was having. But by this point, we did know that. And so it's always lovely to meet people. But I've been on a lot of panels at this point, and I can't remember the difference. I'm mostly saying the same thing anyway. That's another thing that's kind of funny about this stuff. And I'm sure it's true for actors doing press junkets and things for major shows, but we were this little scrappy thing. But through the course of the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, I experienced being an actor, being on panels and being interviewed, and I learned how often you get asked the same question, which is completely understandable from the interviewer's perspective, but it's very funny when you're doing it and you're like, yes, this question. But you hone your answers and you know what you're saying. And every now and then someone will ask something that surprises you, and that's fun. I know that we had bookmarks that we could give away that had been made from the photo shoot that got us these pictures. But it's funny that I don't have very many specific memories of that. I do remember that we had learned from the year before that we needed a much larger room for our panel. So we were in a much larger room. We also had a much longer table. There were a lot more of us there. And then I don't know if all of us were at the signing the next day. I have no memory of that signing. I don't know.
Signing!
But at that point, we would have had the posters, I think, the posters with our actual faces on them. Those were probably being sold there, and then we could sign them for people. There's definitely a lot more merch than had been in existence the year before. But that was like 3 conventions I went to too as like a special guest over the course of less than 2 months. And you can see how much the Lizzie Bennet Diaries was still a huge part of my life, even though I wasn't getting to make any more of it. And let's continue the fan love fest by looking at fan art. Oh, look at these cuties. I like the simplicity. You got the sisters. It's all about the hair, really. Oh, that's Charlotte. Best friends. Now, it says it over here. I didn't need it to be told to me. I knew in my heart. My heart knew. Oh, that's cute. Oh, this is clearly before we had cast this guy. And yes, actually, that's the same thing you said about it over a decade ago. And here we are, just so precious. This seems like some kind of character generator thing. And so Lizzie's got a diary, of course, and ideas. She is smart. And Jane has love and a flower, of course. And Lydia's, yes, got music. I love that for her. And beer. Okay, sure. She does talk about that a lot. And then Charlotte has tea and sarcasm, I think. Of course, a very classic Jane Darcy moment. Really, they've got the clothes, every bit of it. They've nailed it. Just love that fan art. Next time, I'm going to take you to the Emmys, which I do remember, I promise. I remember going to the Emmys.